Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, March 6th. The overall weather pattern turns colder this week across much of the U.S. We have a couple of systems to deal with. One in the short term. Looks like there'll be a fairly quick moving, but a kind of a potent low pressure system that will impact Pennsylvania, central part of New Jersey in the late night, early morning hours of Tuesday with snow or rain changing to snow. Could even be a quick 3, 4, 5 inches in parts of upstate Pennsylvania, maybe even a coating to an inch or so in some of the suburbs of Philadelphia and New York City as well. And we'll talk about that. And then this weekend poses another storm threat. That is certainly not set in stone right now, but the overall pattern is certainly looking like it'll turn colder and remain quite active going forward as we progress through the month of March. Starting off here, looking at last night's 0Z ensemble run of the European model, 500 millibar height anomalies. We're looking at the average mean height anomaly over a given 5-day period. This is the current 5-day period, and a couple areas I want to emphasize right off the bat. First of all, we have the reflection here of high latitude blocking right here, higher heights than normal, higher pressures than normal over Greenland, northeastern part of Canada. This is a high latitude blocking situation that tends to increase the chances for cold air to move into the northeastern and mid-Atlantic region. In addition, we still have reflection of a southern ridge. We've had a ridge of high pressure aloft over the southeastern part of the nation. Sometimes it shifts a little bit to the west, sometimes a little bit to the east, but this has been a very consistent feature over the past couple of months, and we'll see that it virtually disappears over the next several days, and that will tend to lead to a colder weather pattern, especially for the eastern half of the nation. So again, this is the current 5-day period. Let's just roll forward here. Days 2 to 10, 3 to 7, 4 to 8. Now we're all the way out to March 9th to March 14th, and notice here what's happening. This southeastern southern ridge is tending to disappear or retrograde to the west. Still have some reflection of high latitude blocking over northern Canada. In this particular case, out days 5 to 9. We'll go a little bit farther out in time, and this low pressure area, this upper level trough over the Atlantic Ocean, tends to back in towards the eastern seaboard. Here we are now in the middle of the month, March 13th to March 18th, still a reflection of that high latitude blocking over northern Canada. And the southern ridge, by the end of this time period, which is days 11 to 15, March 16th and March 21st, virtually gone. No reflection here of that southern ridge. Still have some reflection here of that high latitude blocking. Again, kind of a jet underneath that high latitude blocking, likely to keep this as an active pattern that, again, looks like it'll turn colder for much of the nation over the next 5 to 10 days or so. Well, in terms of temperatures, let's take a look at the same kind of maps here. These are means over 5-day periods from the last night's ensemble run of the European model. In this case, it's the 850 millibar temperature anomalies, and still a lot of above normal conditions over the much of the eastern half of the nation. But as we move forward, we'll see it certainly appears to be headed towards a colder pattern for much of the nation. Let's move forward here. Now we're out to days 4 to 8. This is March 9th to March 14th. And again, kind of a connection here between upper level trough over the western U.S. and an upper level trough over the Atlantic Ocean. This way above normal temperature pattern here is a reflection of those higher heights, higher pressures than normal, that high latitude blocking over Greenland, northern Canada. We go farther out into time, days 6 to 10, 7 to 11, and all the way out. Notice what's happening here by the time we get to the end of this forecast period, days 11 to 15, March 16th to 21st. Virtually coast to coast, colder than normal conditions here. Still the reflection with respect to temperatures of that high latitude blocking over northern Canada with above normal conditions at the 850 millibar level. But again, colder than normal conditions here by the middle part of the month of March across much of the U.S. Well, let's focus in on the short term here. We have a very interesting scenario here with basically a clipper, a low pressure area, fast moving low pressure system that will be moving from northwest to southeast in the overnight hours. And this is the high resolution forecast model, the HRRR from 6Z last night for total snowfall amounts by early tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. Again, this is a quick mover. And in upstate Pennsylvania, there certainly is a chance for as much as 3, 4, 5 inches of snow in some of those higher elevation locations. And meanwhile, it looks like maybe a coating to an inch or so in Philadelphia and New York City as well, with again the highest snowfall amounts in upstate Pennsylvania. This looks like a changing to snow scenario for Philadelphia and New York City, but upstate PA could be an all snow event. Talking about after midnight into the early morning hours on Tuesday, and again, there can be small accumulations even in the metro areas of Philadelphia and New York City by daybreak on Tuesday. Those metro regions are coating to an inch or so, but upstate Pennsylvania, perhaps as much as 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow in some of those higher elevation locations. Well, let's take a look at a broader view here using a synoptic scale model, the GFS from last night at 0Z. The prior snowfall map was from that high resolution model we call the HRRR, high rapid refresh model here. And this is the GFS from last night at 0Z, and this is the area of interest starting off today here on Monday. It's a wave of vorticity maxima over the northern plains, and it'll basically move in this fashion, kind of like the so-called clipper type of system that tends to move from northwest to southeast. And again, this will produce a little swath of decent snowfall overnight hours in upstate Pennsylvania. Let's move forward here, and we'll also kind of take a quick peek at the upcoming weekend. Certainly nothing at all set in stone about the weekend storm threat, but there is certainly a threat. Now let's move forward here with this vorticity maxima field. And we'll progress from right now, Monday morning, to later on today into the early evening, and then the latter part of the evening. Here is that vorticity maxima, again dropping basically from northwest to southeast, and by the time we get to tomorrow morning, it tends to intensify a little bit. It kind of gets wrapped up with an upper level low, and again, this will be sufficient to cause a swath of a decent snowfall. Upstate Pennsylvania, again, 3, 4, 5 inches possible in some of those higher elevations across upstate Pennsylvania, even some snow all the way down to the northern suburbs of Philadelphia and the New York City metro region. Then we'll kind of move forward through the rest of the week here into the upcoming weekend, and we'll just talk about a couple scenarios as we head into the weekend. First of all, here we are by the time we get to Friday morning, a pretty substantial upper level feature here over the upper part of the Midwest by Friday morning, and it too tends to drop to the south and east into the eastern Great Lakes by the time we get to Saturday morning. Now, there are signs that low pressure can form near or off the mid-Atlantic coastline, maybe the northeast U.S. coastline by Friday night, Saturday time frame. Notice also a second system here moving pretty rapidly into the picture, and that could end up being actually a more significant feature than this front runner right here. Here we are all the way out to Sunday, and watch what happens to this next feature here. It tends to intensify pretty quickly by the time it gets to the Great Lakes, and then slowly moves to the south and east, and we're all the way out now into the middle part of next week. This is the Wednesday morning right here, the Wednesday morning forecast map, March 15th. So certainly an active weather pattern, still a little unclear as to what's going to happen Friday night, Saturday, Sunday time frame, even into the early part of next week. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from last night's 0Z run of the GFS. And here is that Clipper system right now as we begin the day here on Monday morning, March 6th, producing some snow over the Great Lakes region, or rain to the south of the Great Lakes in the northern part of the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest. And overnight, it just drops to the south and east. And here we go. We have a pretty impressive band here of snow. Upstate Pennsylvania, again, aided by the elevations. These are higher elevation locations, and it really can extend from northwestern Pennsylvania all the way into east central PA, and then even into central part of New Jersey, and kind of the outer perimeter of this nice band of snow will be the Philly northern suburbs and the New York City metro region. Again, those metro areas can certainly see a coating to an inch or so by daybreak on Tuesday. Heavier snow likely upstate Pennsylvania, maybe even into west central part of New Jersey. Quick mover. Pretty much wraps up by tomorrow morning. This is a 7 a.m. forecast map for tomorrow morning, and that low pressure area is well off the mid-Atlantic coastline by early tomorrow morning. Again, there still could be some residual snow, let's say in the Philly to New York City corridor, 6, 7, 8 a.m. tomorrow, but it pulls out quickly. And then the wind becomes very noticeable, very strong, persistent wind gusts, persistent winds tomorrow. Into tomorrow night, probably gusting up to 40 to 45 miles per hour or so out of the north and northwest. So temperatures a little bit colder tomorrow, probably in the 40s in the mid-Atlantic region, but it'll feel even colder than those air temperatures because of the wind chills. The winds will be quite persistent, and that wind looks like it'll not only continue Tuesday night, but even into the day on Wednesday. You notice here still a decent pressure gradient across the northeastern part of the nation. The winds could certainly remain noticeable in the mid-Atlantic, in the northeast U.S. on Wednesday. Now, let's quickly move into the latter part of the week, into the upcoming weekend. We talked about two areas of upper-level energy, two areas of vorticity maxima. This is the Friday midday forecast map. Here's the initial system, and then here's a follow-up system out here. And we'll have to watch both of those over the next week to 10 days or so. And by the time we get to Friday night, Saturday morning, again, there can be low pressure that forms somewhere off the mid-Atlantic coastline. This particular model run way south over the Carolinas, which is a possibility that something could form that far to the south. And here is a low surface low pressure area associated with that vorticity maxima. Again, nothing set in stone, but there is a threat for some rain or snow in the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. in that Friday night, Saturday time frame. Here we go. By the time we get to late Saturday, kind of a consolidating low pressure area off the New England coastline. And then we'd kind of look upstream, and yet another system here with a lot of energy aloft, a strong vorticity maxima, may enter the picture Sunday night, Monday time frame. Way too early to know the details on that here. Could have a similar scenario as with the last couple, where a primary wave moves up into the Great Lakes and a secondary forms near the eastern seaboard. This is the Monday evening forecast map, and indeed low pressure here off the mid-Atlantic coastline, and the primary low up over the Great Lakes region. So an active weather pattern, certainly a colder weather pattern for much of the nation, and in the short term, a quick moving storm could produce as much as 3 to 5, 6 inches of snow in upstate Pennsylvania, maybe all the way into west central New Jersey. Even the Philly and New York City metro regions can have small snow accumulations by daybreak on Tuesday. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.